Good afternoon. I think it's a little bit late, but it's okay. And first and foremost, thank you for waiting for me. All right. It's heavy rain here. Okay. So the purpose of our recording today is to record our critical review task on the chosen two articles that are approved by Dr. Rahim. So before we start, just a simple explanation about the processes that we are going to go through. So we have divided certain parts to each individual. So we will go according to it. All right. So for my part, I'll go first. I'll be touching on the title of the chosen articles, the purpose of the research, and their research questions and objectives, research designs, background of the participants, and slight differences between the both articles. All right. So I'll go first. Yeah. All right. Okay. So for the first article, which is actually from Sammy and Anissa, right? Okay. Their article that they have chosen. Before that, again, I would like to reinstate that the article that we chosen is based on the theme of the perception and attitude of teachers towards call, or in regards to call. All right. So the first article, which is analyzed by Sami and Anissa, is entitled "Attitude Towards Computer-Assisted Language Learning: Do Gender, Age, and Educational Level Matters?" So this is their chosen article. All right. The purpose of the article or the research is to explore the relationships of second and foreign language teachers and students' attitude towards call in terms of their gender, age, group, and educational level in two countries, namely Spain and Iran. All right. So the research questions, there are 6 research questions in this particular research article. The first is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language students' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of gender? Secondly, is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language teachers' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of gender? Thirdly, is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language students' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of their age? As for number 4, is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language teachers' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of their age? And the 5th one, is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language students' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of their educational level? And finally, is there any significant difference among the Spanish and Iranian language teachers' attitudes towards the use of call in terms of their educational level? So we can see there are a few variables that these researchers would like to analyze and gain some significant inputs from this research article. All right. What about the research design? So the research design here mainly is a descriptive research survey. Specifically, it is a cross-cultural study. All right. And the participants that are involved in this particular study are 318 language teachers and 307 language students in Iran and Spain. If we break it down, first, 50.1% of the teachers and 69% of the students were Iranian, whereas 49% of the teachers and 30% of the students were Spanish. So this is how we break it down, all right? And also we are going to move to the second article briefly. The second article is reviewed and analyzed by Brother Owen and myself. It is entitled EFL Pre-Service Teachers' Perception Towards the Use of Call in the English Language Classrooms. So the purpose of this research article is to investigate English as a foreign language, EFL pre-service teachers' perception towards the use of call in the English language classroom. All right. The purpose of this research article is mainly to investigate English as a foreign language, EFL pre-service teachers' perception towards the use of call, again, in an English classroom. All right. So there are mainly 2 research questions. First, what is the EFL pre-service teacher's computer competency? All right. Secondly, what are EFL pre-service teachers' perception towards the use of CALL? So not only that, they also have their research objectives here, which is also connected to the research question. So it is similar. So I'm not going to read that part. All right. So in terms of the research design, it is mainly descriptive research survey, which is a cross-sectional study, all right? And the participants involved here are 81 EFL pre-service English teachers, which means teachers from they have not yet completed their undergraduate course. They are still studying, and they are in their second semester of the academic calendar in 2016. All right, so in brief, I'm going to mention about the differences. Okay, first and foremost is the location of the research. So the first text is based in Iran and Spain, whereby the second one is in a Southeast Asian country, Thailand. All right. Secondly is we can see the educational level, the differences in educational level of the teachers or the participants. So for example, when it comes to teaching or teachers specifically, text one, we can see that the teachers have completed their courses, undergraduate course or master's degree or PhD, whereby in the second text, we can see the participants, teachers have yet to complete their degree, all right? Okay, another differences that we can see is the analysis of the data, which Brother Sammy later will describe in depth. So the first text, they use the SPSS definitely because there is a validity test and then there's a descriptive test, t-test, ANOVA, and so on, whereby the second text just analyzed using percentage, mean, and standard deviation. All right. And also, I will pass to my, I think, Brother Sammy, is it? Yeah, okay, Brother Sammy, and he will explain further. Thank you, brother. Unmute, brother, unmute your mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So thank you very much, Sister Abby, for the great introduction. So I will carry on from there, talking about data analysis, instruments, and procedures. So in terms of the data analysis, in the first article that I took with my sister Anissa, Attitude Towards Computer-Assisted Language Learning, the main instrument for collecting the data was a questionnaire. The questionnaire was prepared on Google Form and distributed via a link online. After collecting the data, they checked the validity of the case processing. All the 318 cases of the sample were valid. And then they started analyzing the data descriptively. They have done the t-test analysis and one-way ANOVA analysis. In the second article taken by Brother Owen and you, Sister Abby, the questionnaires were given out and the data obtained. Then they started analyzing the data by providing percentages, tables, and then they calculated the mean and standard deviation. And the way or why they actually calculate the mean and standard deviation is to further help understand about the shape of the distribution and how close the individual data values are from the mean value. Moving further to instrument, both articles have used questionnaire to collect the data, and it is well known that the survey in the form of questionnaire is one of the most usual methods of data collection on attitude and opinion and a large-scale research. And this is in line with what Makey and Gass have mentioned in the article in 2005. So in general, the first article had 2 online questionnaires with a total of 108 items for both teachers and students. The first section, also they have open, closed, and open-ended items with 4 main sections. The first section was about gathering data, to gather data about the participants. The second section aimed to investigate call literacy. The third section was focused on the participants' attitude towards call. And the last section, 10 open-ended items have been provided to the students so they can explain about their experience and attitudes towards call. 5-point Likert scale were used in the questionnaires, ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. In the second article, 5-point Likert scales also were used. The questionnaires consisting of 3 main parts, adapted from Desmond 2009. The first part has 3 items asking the participants' personal information. The second part, 10 items regarding the participants' computer competence. And the last one contains 17 items containing participants' perceptions towards call. And then moving to procedures. In the first article taken by me and Sister Anisa, the procedures were like distributing the online questionnaires for both teachers and students. Then the questionnaires, clearly, as I stated before, contained 108 items, which actually measured 2 different constructs about call, which is literacy and attitude. And then after administrating the questionnaires to teachers and students sample, the researcher first checked the validity of the processing samples. And after confirming that they are valid, the researchers started using SPSS to generate the required tests. In the second article, the researchers introduced call to the participants as a part of a teaching methodology course. Then the participants were assigned to choose one of their lesson plans and design a call program to use explaining that lesson. Then they were required to use call program designed in PA teaching. After that, questionnaires were prepared, distributed, and then data obtained were analyzed in terms of percentage, mean, and standard deviation. So I guess that's all for me. I will pass it back to Abby so she can introduce the second one to continue. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Brother Sammy, for the clear explanation, all right, on the data analysis. Okay, next, my brother Owen is ready. Okay, so Brother Owen, he will talk about the findings, the conclusion, limitations, or suggestions. Okay, take it away, Brother Owen.
All right, thank you guys. All right, okay. Based on what I've read and what I've discussed with Sis Abby and you guys, all right. So for the first article, okay, this is what I wrote, a small summary of it. There is no significant difference between the attitudes of the Iranian and the Spanish learners and educators towards call in terms of their 3 terms. So the first is gender, second is age, and third was educational level. So 3 of them, they sort of used different tests. Maybe the gender and the education level, they used both independent sample t-tests, whereas the age, they used one-way ANOVA test. So based on their tests, so for the independent sample t-test for gender, the significant value was 0.329, which was more than 0.05. Whereas for the one-way ANOVA test for the age, the significant value was around 0.052. And the last but not the least, for the education level, using the independent sample t-test, the significant value was around 0.028. So all of them were about more than the 0.05. So it shows that there's no significant value. Well, they were using SPSS to determine the test. Well, compared to the second article, there wasn't actually the exact reference they were showing that they were using any SPSS methods, but mainly they were using the percentages, means, and standard deviation. So a lot of conclusions were made from this means. I mean, these three percentages. I mean, mainly the percentages. All right. So what are the findings for the second article is actually the computer competence of the participants, where 77.8% always use, 22.2% sometimes use a computer. But despite that, despite most of many people or many individuals and participants, they are using computers, yet 27.16 or 16% of the participants were not competent in accessing the different types of information and call materials online. So it is stating that it's, even though you know how to operate the computer operating system of the device, you some of the participants, they were unsure of where or when to access the materials from which are the sources. So this was the findings. And the second finding was 71.60 or 60% of the participants agreed that the use of computer-made language learning interesting and encouraging for the participants. So they found that the learners especially, they will tend to gain more interest towards the topic related to computers or technological means. Next, for the third, 56.79% of the participants felt that computer training program was required due to lack of competence in operating some computer programs, as well as the inadequate knowledge of new technology for language learning. All right. I found that the finding is actually quite interesting because usually during our degree time, I don't remember, I'm not sure about you guys, but during my degree time, I don't remember having any IT related subjects, which I did. Do you guys take any subjects related to IT?
I took one, but it's just like it's not even on the surface. I think it's not useful.
What was the subject's name actually?
It was global media,
Global.
right? And another one is like a media writing. It's something that you need to use the software to write, to express, but I don't think so it's useful. Maybe it's outdated.
Now I sort of remember something, but it's like utilizing YouTube videos to make they will listen to like 1 minute of the trailer, and then students will have to come up with an essay to continue. I remember having that, but besides that, no precise technological means that is. How about Anissa? How about you?
I had one, but I think it's not going deeper into it. We just have experience of doing tasks, for example, PowerPoint related, video related, but not too deep.
Guys, would you agree with me that this course is actually an eye opener?
Of course.
Yeah, because if you can see in this pandemic, I'm not sure, but it's like we teachers, it's like we are steering the ship while building it. You get what I mean, right? All right, Brother Owen, continue.
I get it. Yes. Actually, it's true. I thought that before taking the subject itself, I was thinking like whatever I learned during my IT in diploma should be sufficient. But then when I took this subject, it was like, what the hell? I never heard of any of these softwares before. It's quite new. And be like, okay, never mind. Let me just keep quiet and just learn. So that's me. All right. So based on the first article and second article, the two differences actually. The first article, the results may support the decision makers of these two countries. So the first country was actually Spain, and second was Iran, right? Right. All right. So the two country educational organization in the process of designing. I mean the curriculum developers, they will be tend to take in more of these findings to to change it in few years time. While the second article, the study suggests that in order to improve the teachers preparation courses, the knowledge of call, including what call is, various types of call, as well as call materials evaluation should be provided. So I find it that it is very important, especially for those who are not quite used with this technological means I mean those who are quite, how to say, familiar with this chalk and talk method. They are more used to using that, and they will try to refrain themselves to, to apply whatever technological stuff related to them. All right, so let me go to the conclusion. Okay. All right, so for the first article, according to the findings, the calculated factors, the three factors, which are the gender, age, and education level. So I mentioned early on, there's no relationship to the attitudes of the language teachers and students towards CALL. So what can be seen there? Most language teachers and students understand the critical role of CALL in their professional and daily lives. So it is quite essential that, the curriculum developers, as I mentioned early on, they should be able to take this in consideration to provide better curriculum outcomes for the future. All right, for the second conclusion, it can be summarized that though the EFL pre-service teachers have learned about CALL, they still find CALL knowledge gained from teaching methodology courses insufficient for effective CALL integration and design. I will totally agree. How about us? We are quite experienced teachers. Maybe for me, I'm experienced for about 2.5 years, but still, I find there's lots of things to learn. How about those new teachers who are going to the real world to teach? So they will surely need more training. So I think it's quite essential. So the suggestion here for the first article here stated that as it's emphasized the role of demographic features on how language teachers and students appreciate the use of CALL in educational contexts. So it's maybe possible for future researchers to do an action-based research or a case study for other researchers in future times. And the researchers also recommended that further research into investigating what specifically second and foreign language teachers and students need to integrate CALL in their language environments. For the second article, the suggestion given is actually the curriculum developers should be looking into material evaluation and fostering teacher skills and knowledge with regards to CALL. So I totally agree with the second article's suggestion as well, because currently even my thesis topic is actually related to the listening activity within the textbook. So I am quite hoping that whatever I'm doing for the thesis, it'll be looked by the Ministry of Education of Malaysia to enhance the curriculum of Malaysian settings. So I think I shall pass it back to Sis Abby.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Owen, for another clear and in-depth explanation of by comparing and contrasting both articles. So what we can see here that no matter what variables that they are looking into, it all comes back to the knowledge and competency of teacher, regardless of their background. That is what we can say about. So I'm gonna give this time to Sister Anissa. She's going to talk about the similarities, final conclusion, and also give some input on the next task that we are going to venture into. Okay, take it away, Sister Anissa.
Okay, thank you, Abby. And then just now, we have been listening to a list of differences highlighted and presented by Sister Abby, by Brother Sammy and Owen about between two articles, Article 1 and Article 2. So let's now review the major similarities of both articles. The very first major similarity is both studies seek to explore perceptions towards CALL, where Article 1 or Study 1 aims in exploring perceptions of teachers towards the use of CALL in educational setting, while Article 2 looks at the perceptions of pre-service teachers. So basically both seeks to explore perceptions. The second similarity is, of course, in terms of research design. Generally, both studies are surveys and they are quantitative by nature, which in a sense accentuate on the generalizability of the findings of both. The next similarity is the instrument used in collecting data. Both studies utilize questionnaire, specifically a 5-point Likert scale questionnaire, ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree, with 3 parts: in both studies. So next, the fourth similarity is the participants. Both studies involve language educators with subtle inclusion of students in study one. Besides that, the slight difference might be in terms of working experience, as the participants in second study are pre-service teachers. Above all, both studies do involve language educators. Another similarity is evident in the research question. One of the research questions in the first article of a study, which is RQ6, is quite similar with RQ1 in the second study, which accentuate on the cognitive aspect of attitude. So RQ6 focuses on the significant difference among Spanish and Iranian language teachers' attitude towards the use of call in terms of their educational level, while RQ1 in the second study focuses on EFL pre-service teachers' computer competence. Here, I would like to highlight those two terms, which are the educational level and the computer competence, because in call, the cognitive component relates to computer literacy or computer competence. So that educational level, as stated in RQ6, might slightly reflect one's computer competence as stated in RQ1. So we can see that slight similarity there. Generally, Article 1 and Article 2 do have their own strengths and weaknesses. That is another similarity. They do possess certain strengths and weaknesses. Just to highlight a few which seem similar for both. For example, both studies utilize a valid questionnaire and quantitative in nature with large sample size. Because as stated by Creswell 2014, the larger the sample, the more the participants will be the representative of the entire population and reflects the attitudes or the perceptions of the population. In addition, both studies provide crucial educational implications through the findings and discussions, and both are recent and relevant. We have read and critically reviewed those two articles, those two studies. So based on the differences highlighted by Sister Abby, Brother Sammy, and Owen just now, as well as the similarities highlighted by me just now, we would definitely agree on the practicality and essentiality of call in Malaysian educational context, specifically in current situations. So all in all, both studies accentuate crucial findings in call. Perhaps the findings accentuated in the second study will be an effective complement to the first study, I think. To conclude, we agree on the importance of preparing our educators to be competent in this computer and technology, in line with the crucial role and potential of computer-assisted language learning, which is called in language classrooms. So I guess this discussion has been very effective in summarizing both articles and clearly accentuating the differences as well as the similarities, which will be synthesized critically in our write-up, which is our critical review paper. Am I right, guys?
Yes, which is our final part of the task, yeah?
So that's it from me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sister Anissa. All right. What we can see that is, what we can really surmise from this is that this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic situation has made called for in a matter of urgency, not only importance, but it is a notion of urgency. So teachers and students, we have to scramble up and educate ourselves or train ourselves or go the extra mile to really have not only the knowledge but being able or having the ability and capability to apply what we know and what we have yet to know. All right, so my dear fellow teachers, all the best to us, because we are learning and using it, as I said before, steering the ship and building it at the same time, yeah? All right, anything else, guys, you want to add? Are we like over 30 minutes? Yes, my dear.
You know what? It's exciting because we are learning, we are implementing at the same time. Learning and applying at the same time is really, effective in memorizing, especially.
And one thing that I would like to highlight is like the students can't cheat us or lie to us. They were like, okay, it's Google Meet, it's Zoom, but they do not know about other softwares that we know. That is something
Definitely.
All right, so guys, anything else you want to add? Is it like 30 minutes or over 30 minutes? Sammy, you can unmute, brother.
Yeah, I don't really know how it shows the time, but I do believe that we have done a quite
30 minutes, all right. Okay,
well.
so after this, we will just have a rough, simple discussion about the write-up, which part we should cover, and so on and so forth. And I thank you guys once again for the time. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, and as I said before, let's kill this semester. It's the final one for us. Kill this subject and gain something useful and make ourselves out of something from this course also at the same time. All right, and take care. And it's raining, so you guys can sleep or eat or do whatever you guys want. All right, okay, bye.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Bye.
See you, sis. Take care.
Bye bye.